Hello, everyone, and welcome this lunchtime to the AI OXP Exchange. It's great to have you on during your lunch times. How we typically run these sessions is that we can make them as interactive as possible, so you can drop things in the comments, or you can ask questions for Robin to answer in the Q&A section as well. In terms of who I am, my name is Daniela, and I'm part of the inquiries team here at Oxford Professional Group. We have colleges for procurement, marketing, and management. So we host a whole array of qualifications suited to your training needs. If you have any questions regarding any of the qualifications, more happy to put my details in as well. And you can reach out to myself or a member of my team. In terms of how the session will work, Robin will lead with her presentation. There's plenty of opportunity for questions throughout and at the end as well. So, Robin, happy to get started?
Yes, sorry, I just had to shut my window because someone's having a delivery outside and they're like singing and it was super distracting. So I didn't want you to have to hear that at the start of this session. Okay,
Not an
so
issue at all.
Thank you very much, Daniela, as always, for that glorious introduction. Yeah, so today is all about how AI is infiltrating different areas of our workload. We often talk about AI as this magical, mystical tech that is taking over big kind of aspects like our sales, our automation, our marketing, the generative side where AI creates, and then we use that creation to do something, right? But AI has a glorious place within project management. And the way that AI is kind of used within this technology is really clever. And the stats and things that I'm going to go through today will really show you that by encompassing what this technology can do in this space will save you time, energy, and also improve your project management, because there's some scary stats in here about how much time is wasted, how purposeful project management is or isn't at the moment. And of course, I'll explain what AI actually does in this space. We'll bust some myths because there is a lot of incorrect information when it comes to what AI is actually capable of in these different spaces. I did a session a couple of weeks ago about AI washing, and we spoke about how technology often over exaggerates what AI can do. So as I said, I'm going to make sure we go back to the kind of understanding of this technology. So you can choose the right platform, you can get the right aspects out of it, and you can actually see that improvement when it comes to using AI for, in this example, project management. So the whole idea is we are reducing chaos. That is the kind of purpose of using technology in this space, in the project management space, right? And I want you to take this kind of webinar for your personal projects, how you run your own work and platforms you can use to do that. Large internal systems, so you know how big organizations kind of plan out and kind of roll out various different things. And also in any space where you're using technology to track tasks, time, or outcomes. Yeah, because the things that I'm going to be talking about are relevant in all of those spaces. It doesn't matter what size that we're kind of going to be kind of working with, kind of organization side. And as we know, project management today, it's a juggling act. Yeah, so there's so much when it comes to actually rolling out a project within any organization. Deadlines keep moving, priorities shift. There's so many moving parts. There's people on site and off site, and all of these dependencies pile up, and it can truly feel like chaos, right? But with the rise of these AI powered tools, we can get ahead of it. And that's the power that I want to give you today, using this technology to get ahead of that. In all of our roles, expectations are mounting. So why not use the technology that is available to move kind of your project forward? And AI is great for that. Cuts through the noise, takes away the layers of uncertainty, keeps things on track, and allows us to have some level of clarity. Whereas in realistic terms, a non-managed project management system with people using it in different ways, updating it in different ways, is not really purposeful. Yeah. So I'm going to show you how AI is changing the way projects are planned, tracked, and delivered. We're going to talk about various different aspects of that and how AI is becoming that kind of extra teammate that has eyes on all of these parts. Well, you can't be. You have to sleep, you have to leave work. So AI can kind of fill in those gaps that, and a lot of the time in project management, are overlooked, and it causes all of those issues moving forward. So welcome. Whether you're here, you lead a project, you manage a team, you run operations, I'm going to talk through the practical ways that AI can simplify your work, boost your outcomes, all while keeping the human touch at the center. Because AI is not a replacement for experience or expertise, which I'll also talk about today. Please challenge me. Pop any of your thoughts or ideas into the chat, and I will also ask you questions. So it's always more fun when I'm not talking to myself. And as we go through this, by the end of it, you will be able to go away, decide what platforms you need, check out what technology is currently supporting your kind of project management systems, and hopefully implement small things to make big changes within your project management. Yeah, we're going to reduce that chaos using AI. So I want to ask you a question. Why do projects break down? In your experience, what causes projects to break down? If you want to just send me a message on chat, that's totally fine. But in reality, yeah, communication's a huge one. But products rarely fail because teams don't care. Yeah, they rarely fail because there's a wish for them to fail. They fail because the system or the processes are chaotic. Yeah. Across industries, organizations still waste, since we'll go through the timeline of kind of project management tech, but since its kind of start, roughly 1 in every 10 pounds due to poor project performance. Over time, that is a huge amount of money, right? 1 in every 10 pounds is wasted on poor project management. And you may say to me, oh, Robin, that's just like a rounding error. No, it's actually systematic waste. We can make a difference here. We can move things forward in better ways. So yeah, Laura, not knowing who does what, absolutely. Deadlines not met, absolutely. Like realistically, this kind of, when we zoom in on kind of the nitty-gritty of project management, the larger we are, the bigger the risk magnifies. Yeah. So if we look at kind of SMEs doing project management in general, across kind of all sectors, we're running on 45% over budget at the moment for individual projects, which is huge. And in a kind of recent study by McKinsey and Company, last year, projects, what are classed as a project, so a creation and a rollout of a change product or service, they delivered 56% less value than promised. That is huge. And in a time where actually organizations need to be trying harder than ever, we are vying for very small pools of kind of economic freedom within our audiences. This is an incredible amount of wasted energy, time, and opportunity. And another thing that is happening due to project management systems is that teams are drowning in work about work rather than doing real work. So how much time do you spend in the day answering status pings on Teams, dreading the Slack channel little noise, replying to updates in kind of spaces that actually aren't to do with you? You've just been looped in and get that notification. how many meetings do you go to in a week that don't need to be a meeting? How many messages do you have to respond to where people are asking for context or trying to get an update from you because they don't know how to find that information, they don't know where to look, they haven't been looped in? And a really glorious kind of piece of information from Asana, so the project management tool Asana, that they interviewed over 8,000 organizations and their employees last year. And they saw that those individuals, they spent 60% of their day in coordination rather than the skilled job that they have been hired for. So no wonder our clarity disappears. No wonder that we are wasting so much time, 1 in every 10 pound, on wasted efforts within project management. Has anyone else felt some of those things? I know I have within the corporate world. And in complex environments, so if we look at things like government, this pain, this problem compounds. More than 80% of public sector IT projects overrun schedules, the cost overruns, and the issue gets more and more complex to fix it. So when we have these dependencies, approvals, shifting priorities, changes, different people coming in and out, at scale, we're also struggling incredibly to manage, which you would think realistically the larger the organization, the more experience, the more capability. It actually doesn't look that way when we actually look at the figures. So you can see why we need something more. We need something like AI to sit within these systems, to utilize the data properly, and to actually move things forward in a glorious way. Even when you're doing your own personal projects, I'll talk about Notion shortly, but even when you're doing and planning your own personal things, you need to actually be able to do it in the most efficient way, because you don't have time to do 60% of your day in coordination. So a really interesting kind of like view of the future is that by 2030, Gartner predicted that up to 80% of project management tasks, data collection, tracking, reporting, those kind of things that we are still, even though we have automations in place, we are still manually doing, probably 90% of the time, could be automated by AI. So this actually also shifts the role of a project manager in reality. And it shifts kind of the project management role to judgment, facilitation, and influence. Yeah. And it signals a seismic shift. It signals a change in how we do this, the technology that we use within this space, the way that we approach project management. And realistically, it is being fueled by this technology that can support us to complete these tasks, to fill in those other aspects, that grunt work that happens within project management. And it matters. It really matters, because when I talk to you today, you'll see that the busy work of project management will disappear. Yeah. As I said, we spend so much time in coordination, collecting updates, chasing status reports, consolidating spreadsheets, producing dashboards. Has anybody sat within that role? How much of your time is wasted doing that, right? And in reality, if 80% of those tasks can be automated, the role is no longer based in admin. It's about creating value, seeing opportunity, making a difference, which is what the project management role is all about. It's not just about making sure that things happen where and when. It's about spotting those opportunities, ensuring the creative kind of mindset of fluidity. So if you want to change, we can change, right? And how many hours do you think you would get back if you have these digital teammates, these kind of AI support systems, to focus on leadership and strategy instead of chasing data. Because these platforms can now also tell you when people aren't using the platforms in the correct way. So how frustrating is it when, for example, you are a dedicated team member and you are filling in all of your tasks, you are updating all of your project management system, but then your teammates who may not be as into that kind of process is kind of wishy-washy, kind of not giving updates. It leaves uncertainty. That uncertainty leads to lack of clarity. That lack of clarity means the project suffers, right? So let's remove it. Let's get rid of that busy work. And that's what AI actually can do for you within these kind of spaces. We will talk about kind of in this session that realistically the skill set for project management will change. So with AI handling, tracking, reporting, the kind of premium shifts to judgment, critical thinking, and facilitation. Again, the glorious bits of project management, right? And project managers who can interpret insights, resolve conflicts, and rally teams will be far more valuable than those who just keep the trains running, because AI is now capable of that realistically. And there'll be a real influence, a real kind of change in prioritizing communication, stakeholder management, with the rise in importance of understanding technical AI kind of terminology and having this fluency of this kind of platform. Is there anyone who disagrees with me? Is there anyone who is like, oh, okay, I didn't really expect that? But it makes sense, right? This new piece of technology comes in, takes away the busy work. Imagine how much time, energy, resources that you would have to then make these better insights, to move things forward in a better way. And the role of a project manager will also become more strategic. Yeah. So instead of being seen as administrators, we evolve into strategic partners. And that is so much more powerful, who guide teams through uncertainty. And this job tilt kind of moves towards decision making, choosing trade-offs, prioritizing resources, and aligning with business outcomes, which is much more interesting than trying to waste your time coordinating. If Tom hasn't done this, then that is stopping this. But actually, Tom has done this, but it's just not in the right place, hasn't been updated in the project software. So now we think that that's a stall, but actually, you know, you've heard these conversations before. Slack channels are full of them. Yeah. And we also get to reshape our expectations. So we get faster reporting cycles for projects, better visibility, predictive alerts, all powered by AI. And that does change the game. It raises the bar. So if you don't adapt, you risk being replaced by someone who can partner with AI rather than be replaced by it. I always say that this technology still needs a human connection. It still needs a human touch. It does not replace experience or expertise. It cannot. The technology only understands the world and can only give you an answer on the data it is fed. That data exists, right? You give it that to kind of work from and make decisions from. It doesn't have your experience and expertise. So this change, this expectation change, will also allow organizations to move quickly. We have to. We all know that it's a very strange time within the kind of economical, the exchange of kind of services at the moment. And why not? Why wouldn't you want to kind of have true visibility so you can change things, you can alter things that are happening within the organization? And it may also redefine career growth for a project manager. So instead of task tracking, yeah, I read a glorious note on kind of one of the CEOs of a really glorious company. She was talking about how half of her day used to be just like checking who was doing what. And as soon as she stepped out of that, she put processes in place, she was able to see where the organization could move forward. And we need to lean into this technology. So these predictions, this by 2030, 80% of things for a project management could be automated. It matters because it's not about AI doing your job for you. That's not what this is. I'm not saying that instead of being a project manager, you can run these systems and you can sit on a beach drinking a mojito. But in reality, having this extra support, it's about stripping away that repetitive coordination of project management and kind of evolving into something more influential. And I think that's what people miss when they see the kind of capabilities of AI. They're like, oh, that'll save us some time. But actually the insights, the iterations, and the changes of things, that's where this technology really comes into its own. It's not automation. Yeah, it's about actually using AI at the capability it has to use the data you connect it to make a difference. And that will be the key differentiator moving forward. So when we look at project management, we've had kind of an interesting time when it comes to tech. So a lot of people say the 1950s and the 1960s were where we kind of had formal methods of project management. So critical path method, PERT charts, those kind of things. Projects moved from a kind of vibe, a gut feel, to actually having something structured and planning. So, like a flow chart, a process, a who does what and when. We then, in the 1980s, we had those desktop tools arrive. So this brought Gantt charts. I mean, we all know, we love them, even though we detest them, right? These Gantt charts, they brought Gantt charts to the PC. And this is where the project management role became more standardized. But the problem here is it was still siloed. Yeah, your data was on a computer. And then for somebody else to get access to that, it was a whole farce, realistically. And then collaboration really hit it off in the 1990s. So email, networked PCs, so teams can share things across offices, the rise of project management kind of office, and also cloud platforms began to take over. So we had SaaS tools like Basecamp in 2004, and we could then do collaboration in real time. Agile practices kind of spread beyond tech at this point, moving from strict plans to adaptive kind of methods. And then we entered the era of connected work. So this is where we had things like Asana, cloud-first platforms that offer dashboards, Kanban boards, integrations, and project management evolved into this cross-functional collaboration. So this is where we started to see these problems, right? We had too much data, too many moving parts, offsite, onsite, keeping things updated. And then 2020's AI comes to the rescue. So this is where we got an extra support within the technology to do things like status reporting, risk prediction, auto summaries. So we're starting to shift from human effort in all instances to machine assistance. And if Gartner's right, by 2030, most of the grunt work will be gone. And the next leap in project management isn't about tools, actually. It's not really about a brand new platform. It's about how we use AI to be more strategic in the ways that we move forward. But I do need to really dial in on the fact that AI isn't a replacement. Does anyone have any feelings about AI? Like, are you worried about the integration of AI within your role? Are you fearful of using AI within your project management? Just let me know. Because every leap in the technology And in that kind of timeline has made us better, made us smarter, if you want to use that kind of work. Yes, AI is an incredible tool, but it will not replace human touch. It can't. Yeah, people get so fearful that it's going to take over kind of the strategic, the expertise kind of side. It can't do that. Yeah. And but AI is different. It's not another tool. It's about making the things that we already do work harder, actually do what we thought they would do when the tech kind of came out. Yeah, Laura, it will allow us to be more human by allowing us to give the boringness away and hone our strengths where we are brilliant. Exactly. And why is that something that is fearful? It shouldn't be, right? It's actually a really powerful space. So think of AI as the engine. It's the engine inside your existing platforms. It's the thing that starts you off. It's the summarizer and flags things that you need in those kind of incidents. We're not reinventing the wheel. We shouldn't at this point. We have the tech and kind of platforms, but it makes things spin faster. The wheel spins faster with this tech. And that shifts and frees up project managers from chasing updates and crunching reports so we can focus on where humans add the most value. Yeah, making good decisions, navigating priorities, and leading teams. But there is this fear, and that is because often there is a misunderstanding in what AI is doing in our project management spaces. So I'm going to tell you what it can do. Yeah. So when we talk about AI in project management, the key thing I want you to remember is that AI is brilliant at anything repetitive, data-driven, and predictable. Yeah. So think about those tasks that eat up your time every week: status updates, progress reports, chasing people for input, consolidating spreadsheets, drafting summaries after meetings. None of these require deep creativity, right? Would you agree with me there that none of those require deep thought or deep creativity? But what they do require is consistency. And that's where AI thrives. So, for example, tools like Asana's Smart Status or ClickUp AI can take the raw project data already sitting there, the tasks completed, the blockers flagged, the deadlines coming up, and automatically generate a status update you can send to stakeholders in minutes. How many hours will that save you every month? Many, right? Because you've got to keep all of these people supported, involved, integrated in the loop. And that is what takes up your time. But if the systems can kind of collaborate, create you the report, you can check it, of course, if there's anything that needs explaining before that gets sent out to the relevant stakeholder. You are proactive and you are engaged. You are in the system. AI also shines in risk detection. So instead of waiting for a bottleneck to appear, which we often do within projects, we tend to only react when there is a problem. Machine learning models can actually flag patterns in timelines, like a task that is slipping repeatedly or a dependency that's about to clash with another. So you can act quicker before the problem snowballs. Magic. And then there's also things like forecasting. So based on your team's past performance, AI can actually estimate how long a similar task might take in the future, helping you to build more realistic schedules directly from the start. Because of the data and its ability to analyze, it can then show you, okay, Robin, you're being a little bit kind of too excited about the project. The timeline is going to be more suited to this because in the past, X, Y, and Z was a problem. Great. I'm setting better expectations out from the start and people are not stressed. The resources are allocated better. Wonderful. So there's no more guesswork that leads to overpromise and under delivery. So even at the kind of day-to-day level, AI is useful for nudging people along. So reminders, follow-ups, assigning repetitive tasks, or suggesting next steps after a meeting. It's like having a digital project coordinator quietly running in the background. Yeah, just ticking off all these little coordination tasks that you don't need to spend the time doing anymore. So it doesn't replace project management. AI is not a replacement. Yeah, it's an accelerator. It removes the busy work. It automates the repetitive grind, so you as a project lead can put your energy into the things that really need human judgment: strategy, prioritization, motivating people, and leading change. Is there anything that you want to ask me that you believe AI can do? Is there something that you've seen online in your kind of LinkedIn feeds, in kind of platforms that you're like, oh, this says it can do that? Let me know in the chat and I will answer those before the end of this session. But I'm now going to tell you what it can't do. And this is where a lot of misinformation sits within the AI world. There is so much expectation when it comes to this technology. And of course, platforms are going to whack it into their marketing and say how glorious and how AI powered they are. But it's just as important to be actually clear on what AI cannot do in project management. So I'm going to tell you now that AI struggles with anything that requires empathy, prioritization, or context. Yeah. Just as a very fun question, does anyone say thank you to their AI kind of models, or say hey or anything like that? Always? Do you say that, Daniela?
Yes.
Yeah.
I say,
Yeah,
please, thank you.
Yeah, it's a very natural thing for us to do, because we kind of give this type of technology, because we're talking to it, we have a back and forth, this kind of human aspect. But actually, that is watering down the output that you're going to get, because it's using up tokenization space. It doesn't know if you're being nice. It doesn't know if you're not using your manners when it comes to that. So Sam says, I'm always polite. I'm worried if I'm not, it'll give me the answers. It'll not give you the answers. Well, hopefully it has good guardrails in place to not do that. But AI cannot act in the way that we kind of give it this human aspect, right? So, for example, AI could surface 10 different risks in a project plan, but it doesn't know which one really matters most to your client. Yeah. Or which stakeholder has the influence to escalate a minor issue into a major problem. Only a human can balance those scales, those trade-offs, yeah, and make the judgment call. Yeah, it definitely was an urban myth. Yeah. My husband always says when the rise up of the robots happens, he wants like the toaster to be nice to him. That's why he says thank you and please. But in reality,
It'll remember you.
that's what he always says too. But I promise you it won't, right? It's not capable of that. Yeah. And another thing that AI cannot do is it cannot motivate or manage. Yeah. It won't resolve a conflict between two team members. It won't notice when someone is burnt out. But what it may notice is their task slipping, but it'll just raise that as a problem. It won't understand the larger context. And it can't have a difficult kind of conversation with a stakeholder about why a deadline has to move. That still requires human leadership, human empathy, human trust. Yeah. And then if I kind of discuss the kind of context with you, AI models are excellent at spotting patterns, but they don't understand the wider context. So they don't understand politics, culture, or nuance. Yeah. So a project report may look perfect on paper, but as a human project manager, I know when an executive sponsor could be nervous, or when a client's priorities have quietly shifted. So AI can't read the room. Yeah, it can't. You can. So that's why I say that use this technology to get the best out of it, but you will still need that oversight. Another risk is accuracy. So AI generated summaries, forecasts, recommendations can be wrong. Has anyone ever, in the early days of ChatGPT, asked what 2 + 2 was? Did anyone try that? Well, I can tell you the answer was always 6. And then you'd go, that was wrong. And then it'd go, oh yeah, 7. Like it's not perfect. Yeah. And it's only also as good as the data it is trained on and the data you give it access to. So Sam says, how many bees are in blueberry? Always gave 3. Yeah, it's not perfect. Yeah. So these forecasts, these recommendations, they can be wrong. In misinterpreted data, overlook a critical kind of dependency. Without human oversight, it's easy to fall into a trap of overconfidence in these kind of bad outputs. Yeah. And that's why the human role doesn't disappear. It becomes even more critical as the decision maker and sense checker. So the future of project management is not AI taking over. Yeah, it's AI plus human judgment, always will be. With any piece of technology, AI handles the repetitive, structured work in the background while humans focus on the things machines can't do. Setting direction, building alignment, and leading people through change. And that's where the balance, that's where that power truly actually lies. So Notion, let's have a look at some very well-known platforms. Yeah. So Notion AI is like having, notice my choice of words here, junior product coordinator inside your inside your workplace. It won't decide what your priorities should be, but it will clean up your notes, generate action items, and help you draft updates. So the AI integration here is all about saving time. That is Notion's whole focus. So it gives you a structured first draft that you refine and shine and share. Yeah, that is the whole focus here. So it runs on what are called large language models, the same family of tech behind ChatGPT. And these models have been trained on vast amounts of text, so they can talk to us. They can generate this human-like writing. Yeah, well, we like to be nice to these systems. What I will say to you now is that inside Notion, the AI is context aware because it sits within the boundary of your information. Not only has it been trained on vast amounts of data, it also has access to what you feed it. So it is, in some aspects, context aware, meaning it looks at the text in your current page or database to make its responses relevant. It still would struggle with politics, nuance, and culture. Yeah. So think of it less like a Google search, more like a colleague who has read your notes and is suggesting a first draft or summary. Something that you need to know here as well is it doesn't know facts on its own about your project. Yeah, it only understands the information in your Notion workspace as the raw material. It can't have any other reference. It doesn't have access to it. Yeah. So if I was to say some things you can do straight away, going out of Notion to improve your project management, you've just come out of a brainstorming session where everyone typed half-formed ideas into a Notion page. It's messy, bullet points everywhere, duplicate ideas. Someone's wrote something funny in the corner. With one click, Notion AI can summarize those notes into a structured set of bullet points. So instead of spending half an hour cleaning up the notes yourself, you instantly have a shareable project summary. Saves you 30 minutes, 40 minutes, but compounded, that's a lot of time. Yeah. So you can also do things like if you're preparing a project proposal, you can ask Notion AI to make this more formal or turn this into a one-page executive summary. A hill I will die on when it comes to AI is if you give it a rubbish prompt, it's going to give you trash. Yeah, because if you're not asking it for something clear, concise, understandable, actionable, it ain't got it has not got a clue on how to actually give you something out of that. Yeah, so trash in, you get trash out in all of these instances when it comes to AI. So when you're asking it, be clear, give it an example of what you want, be prepared, give it extra information so it can truly give you something that you can use that is tangible. So that is how AI is supporting Notion as a project management kind of tool. So then we look at ClickUp. ClickUp's AI is like a project assistant who's read everything in your workspace and can draft updates on demand. Unlike Notion, it doesn't just make the text sound nice. It's actually grounded in the real data from your ClickUp environment. So when you ask it for a report, it's pulling actual task statuses, overdue items, and blockers. Yeah, so it's pulling all of that data it has access to. Instead of spending hours chasing updates and writing reports, you're free to focus on decisions, risks, and kind of strategy. So it uses generative AI, again, some instances of large language models, to create natural language summaries, reports, and text. The AI is plugged in to all of the data and updates, and everybody who is a part of your kind of ClickUp, they would also contribute to the data that this AI understands the environment within. So it doesn't invent content, it pulls actual product details. So it's combining these two kind of worlds, generative AI for human-like writing and structured project data from your ClickUp workspace, yeah? And the result is content that's not only well written, but it pulls that information in. So let's say you need to send your manager a weekly project update. Normally you'd spend an hour pulling task statuses, checking what's overdue, summarizing blockers. With ClickUp AI, it's as simple as generate this week's project update. Unlike Notion, this will give you specific who, what, where, when, and how, and give you clear, actionable things to move things forward. And then it scans the workspace, identify tasks completed, your overdue items, and any flagged blockers, and then creates a polished draft update. You sense check it and hit send. Yeah, so that's a powerful way that this is really changing how project management is supported by AI. So Asana is a little bit different. So this kind of technology is powered by machine learning models trained on project data patterns. So it's really great at doing things like delays, workloads, dependency, and it constantly scans your workspace to detect signals. So it's looking for overdue tasks, bottlenecks, resource conflicts, or critical path risks. And because it works in the background, you don't have to manually check every milestone or spreadsheet because the AI is surfacing the most important issues for you all the time. So imagine you're running a project launch with dozens of moving parts. Asana notices that 3 tasks in your critical path are falling behind schedule. Instead of you discovering this days later, Smart Status drafts a project update that highlights the risk, explains which milestones are impacted, and suggests where to reallocate those resources. Glorious. Yeah. And the update is already structured for stakeholders. You just review, tweak if needed, and share. So that's incredibly powerful when it comes to AI-powered project management. And then we have Copilot. So I'm not in love with Copilot, I must say, but it is getting much better within what it's capable of doing. And corporate-wise, it is used internally for a lot of teams now. This is like having an AI colleague. There's a difference here. And they have their kind of, their worlds that they exist in is all your Microsoft tools. And it's powered by large language models, but the real magic is Microsoft Graph. That's what connects your emails, chats, calendars, and tasks. So that's the technology that gives it that instance. So it's the glue that sits between all of your Microsoft apps. So this is the nervous system of Microsoft 365. So this connection between your emails, Teams, chats, tasks, and calendars and documents, it gives you a personalized, context-specific output that reflects your real projects, deadlines, and communication history. So after a project meeting in Teams, instead of manually writing minutes, Copilot automatically generates a recap. This kind of project management tool is one that kind of happens passively too. So it's there already supporting you without you kind of having to tell it what you need. So it's incredibly powerful. So introducing AI to a project team works best when it's gradual and intentional. If you try to overhaul every process overnight, there will be huge feelings of overwhelm. And at worst, you could have resistance. You could have people that truly feel disconnected from the new technology that you're bringing in. So keep it transparent, potentially make it optional at first, and don't forget to celebrate the wins. Yeah. And when we are looking at adding AI into your kind of project management systems, this is the checklist that I want you to go through. So after this session, you can go through this checklist and start to use this wonderful technology directly within your project management. Yeah. So the first thing I want you to do is audit where your data lives and how clean it is. The only way AI systems understand the world is the data they are trained on and the data they are fed. Yeah, there's nothing in between. Have a look at the platforms that you already use: Jira, ClickUp, Teams, Notion, Basecamp, Asana, all of the kind of wonderful kind of different processes. I then want you to sit and identify your repetitive admin heavy tasks. So what do you spend the most time doing that is repetitive? Check whether your AI-powered platforms are truly connecting with your existing systems, because we want the most up-to-date data going into and out of these systems. Define your rules for data privacy, ethical use, and oversight of your AI outputs. If you are in a team leader role, I want you to provide training on how to use AI features effectively. And then also track those hours that you've saved. How many reduced meeting times are you actually doing? Or kind of what risks were flagged early, and share the results within your team. I don't want you to go out and buy a new AI-powered project management system. What I want you to do is check out the new capabilities that will exist within your current technology. Every platform is adding AI quicker than kind of any technology integration before, because it's not something that is going to go away. Our tasks are personal data led. How confidential can AI be? Okay, so that's really interesting. So if you have guardrails, so if you use a system that only looks at your internal data as a directory and is only accessed by your team, it's not open source, it will be incredibly confidential, because you would set the people who need to access that data would be the only ones with those permissions, in the same way that you have permissions on the data now. What people tend to not kind of look forward in is if you are adding loads of data sources without guardrails or permissions or access understanding, that is when data becomes less confidential. But just as you now have structure in who can access what, you can do the same within what AI can see. And it can also anonymize data too. So if you just need it to make a decision based on the data, and it doesn't really need to know who, what, why, for example, that specific confidentiality aspect, that's okay too. It can still make decisions. So just as the kind of roll up to the end of this session, is there's 3 big mistakes that project managers make when it comes to AI. And MIT study found that a staggering 95% of AI initiatives in enterprises had no measurable impact on profit and loss over the last 2 years. Why do you think that is? Because I've told you how wonderful this piece of technology is. And in reality, it was because the AI wasn't broken. It was because it was poorly integrated. Yeah. So these generic ways of using this, not actually suited for purpose, failed to adapt to how teams actually worked. So we need to not overlook the nuances that we have within our own project management systems and ensure that realistically, we are adding AI where AI can do the most for our kind of project management. So yeah, don't overlook your workflow integration. Do you really need to add AI there? Is it better here, for example? The next big mistake is ignoring the human element. So the Bank of Australia replaced 45 customer service agents with AI voice bots as part of their project management system. So instead of it being passed to an individual, it was passed to an AI voice bot and a kind of push towards efficiency. But of course, it didn't work. Yeah, there was no on-ramp to human interaction. So we need to, in our minds, always recognize that AI is an assistant, not a replacement. Use it to empower, not replace. Yeah. And there's also this kind of issue that there's no definition of why you're using AI in the first place. I've told you loads of reasons why it's great, but actually undefined objectives, lack of governance, they're a problem. And a lot of AI failure, and what is classed as AI failure, is it stems from a lack of strategic alignment. So we want to kind of, if you want to gain time, what task could you replace with an AI-powered process that your platform offers, and how much time will that save you? What do you need to do to add in that kind of process? And that's how you need to think about adding in this technology. And I want to kind of really, really, really dial this in. It's not about taking over project management, this technology. It's about taking away that noise, that busy work. It automates the busy work, flags risks earlier, and frees up focus. Yeah. And the secret, the magic secret sauce that I will tell you is to start small. Experiment with the quick wins, prove the value to those that need the value proved, and then expand. And always remember that the best results come when AI and human skills work together, because AI gives us clarity, speed, and efficiency. The human brings the context, the empathy, and the leadership, and that's the future of project management. So as an organization, do you think having an AI policy and or a statement around ethical use of AI is important? Yes, you will. Every organization should have an AI policy that is on their website, that is accessible, and also internal if you have any extra information, but one can support both. Something to define how you're using AI and why it has a place in your organization. Absolutely. Because AI will not just be in one place in your organization. It will be in your marketing. It will be in your sales, where you're using AI to lead score. It'll be in your automation, your segmentation, to your cold outreach or your warm outreach. It'll be in your kind of, once somebody's purchased, making somebody an ambassador, all these kind of things. And yeah, Daniela is totally right. There is a previous session that kind of focuses on that. But what I want you to go away today, if nothing else, is to look at what AI is now currently in your project management platforms and look at replacing some heavy time tasks, because you will see an immediate difference actually by doing that. So you can join our AI exchange. It is a free Slack channel. I post information in there. You can ask me questions in there. And there's also a great group of people that are really trying to just stay ahead of this technology as a kind of group in there. Thank you. Please let me know if you have any more questions before we end today. Oh,
Hi,
amazing, Danielle. Thank you for
no
posting those
worries.
links.
No worries. Hi, hello everyone. So yep, I just popped in the YouTube channel overall, so you can go and click through and rewatch any of the content that we cover in the AI OXP exchange sessions. And the link below it, Samuel, will be the one for the AI policy and how it's relevant to your organization and things that you can implement in terms of policy. Yeah, Robin will pull that up for you now. In terms of the links that I popped in the chat prior, essentially, we offer a qualification called the AI Practitioner, which is accredited by our AIP, and we are industry leaders in providing this to students. If you're looking to upskill and kind of get coverage on AI in terms of practical skills, as well as having something on your CV, LinkedIn, that you can advertise to employers that you're up to date on. We also offer short courses, which can be quite relevant. If you're looking for anything as well in terms of project management, we offer qualifications in that. You're more than welcome to reach out to me via my work email, and it's danielle@oxfordpeg.com. Otherwise, you can click through our website, have a look. You can always inquire with us directly through there as well. In terms of messages, let's have a quick look. Thank you, Rodica, as well. And thank you, Robin, for also popping in the Slack there as well. Yep, and Daniel, there is the QR code for yourselves. But yep, it's always great to have these sessions. Do you know what the next topic will be on, Robin?
So we've got like a couple coming up about myths, how AI actually generates things, the technology about actually how it makes that glorious output that we kind of use moving forward. A new session is going to get added about Google's LM notebook and kind of how to use that, and also one about Perplexity too. So there's quite a few different demos coming up, as well as kind of theory on this tech. So it's going to be an interesting autumn, I think.
Great. So the next session will be on the 8th of September at 2 till 3 p.m. like this
Yeah.
one as well. And you can find out more information. Oh, if it will do what I want it to do. Uh, Here via the events. Otherwise, yeah, feel free to reach out to Robin or myself via Slack or email. And I look forward to joining you guys on the next one.
Thank you so much, Daniela.
Bye, everyone. Have a lovely rest of your day.